Hi everybody, welcome back for another James Bond review, and this time we are discussing well, it's the second James Bond movie with Roger Moore, and it is The Man with the Golden Gun, and it is, I'm just going to talk about the movie. Let's just talk about the film. Let me just get right into the movie, and let me just discuss the film. First of all, hope you're doing well. Let me know in the comments below how you're going. Second of all, let's just get on with this film. Let's talk about this movie, The Man with the Golden Gun, released only 1 year after the previous Roger Moore movie, which was Live and Let Die. That was 1973. This is 1974. So again, 1 year later, this movie came out. And it clearly shows. It clearly shows. I think what we have to quickly look at is the fact that back in the 1960s when James Bond started, you had Dr. No from 1962, From Russian with Love 1963, you had, Goldfinger was 1964, 1965 was Thunderball. So you had 4 movies shot and filmed and released, written, shot and released within 12 months of each previous movie that came out. And each entry was as good as the previous film. Live and Let Die came out. I really enjoyed it. It proved to be a bit of a hit with the audience. That came out within 12 months of that release. We have The Man with the Golden Gun, which was released, and reviews at the time were that the movie was a bit stale. The Bond formula was starting to get a bit stale. It clearly showed that it was a 12-month turnaround between movies, because it also had major issues with the plot. The movie needed a second pass on the script, and it had issues. So speaking of that, let's just get straight into that and speak about the plot. Now, the movie begins with it actually opens up on Scaramanga, who is a man with 3 nipples. Yep, that's a thing. He's a man with 3 nipples. He lives on his own island, a private island, with his little servant, Knick-Knack, and with his slave. Yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to say it. We're going to say slave, Andrea Anders. And he lives on this island, and the movie begins with Knick-Knack paying money to a mobster who is an actor returning from Diamonds Are Forever. But he pays money to this guy to go into like this funhouse type of environment to track down Scaramanga, who's also in this environment, and kill him. And Knick-Knack is doing this, and apparently it's a bit of a thing between Knick-Knack and Scaramanga, that they're doing this because he's testing Scaramanga, and Scaramanga likes fighting the best of the best and winning and using only one shot from his golden gun. Hence, The Man with the Golden Gun. Now, after this sequence finishes and Scaramanga kills this mobster, there's a wax figure of Roger Moore's James Bond, and Scaramanga shoots the fingers off the wax figure, and the movie cuts to the title sequence, which is The Man with a Golden Gun, as sung by, I believe it's Lulu, and it is really good, actually. I'm going to say the Man with a Golden Gun, which you'll probably be hearing a little bit underneath as I'm talking now, is a really, really, really good theme song. Because you figure at this point in the franchise, it's kind of a thing where whatever the movie is, that's going to be the title song, to a degree. And you kind of have to wonder, how in the hell are they going to fit The Man with the Golden Gun into a theme song? Watch the movie, and they do it. And they do it quite well, and it's a more rock-inspired song over some of the previous ones. I mean, we had Paul McCartney and the Wings do Live and Let Die before, which was a absolute phenomenal song. And this one here isn't as good, but it's still up there. It's still a really good rock ballad type of song. So I really enjoy this song. I know it can cop a little bit of flack from some people. Not from me. I'm here for it. I can put it on and I can listen to it all the time. But anyway, once the title sequence is finished, come to an end, we cut to James Bond walking into M's office, and M is pretty much pulling James Bond off a mission, which is Bond trying to find this Solex device. And that's like something to do with the solar and all this type of stuff, and it's meant to be really efficient, super efficient. But he pulls him off this case because they just got delivered to MI6 a golden bullet with 007 engraved on the actual bullet. And they ask him, do you know who Scaramanga is? And Bond stands there and then gives this massive information dump on the character of Scaramanga, who he is, what he charges per kill. But no one has seen this guy. Nobody knows what he looks like, and they know he's one of the world's best assassins out there. And now that he has targeted Bond, 007, and has delivered this bullet to MI6, M is like, well, we can't sacrifice the mission you're already on, so we need to pull you off that mission and you need to go on a sabbatical. You just need to hide until we can find Scaramanga and put this to bed, pretty much. And Bond's like, well, what happens if I just go looking for him? If I find him, then we can put this all to bed, and then I can get back onto the Solex mission. And M is like, yes, I suppose, yes, we could. So then he sends Bond off, and Bond goes on his various locations around the world trying to find Scaramanga. And the opening, probably 20 minutes of this movie is really, really, really interesting because it sets up this fantastic cat and mouse game between Bond and Scaramanga, because obviously Scaramanga is now after Bond. Bond knows that, but he's now going to try and get to Scaramanga before he gets killed himself. And the plot itself, like I said, it starts off really well, but then fails completely, because as the movie goes on, we find out exactly what is happening. And as more characters are introduced, like Andrea Anders, I mean, she was introduced at the very beginning, but as we get to know her through the movie with Bond, well, pretty much she was the one that had the bullet sent to MI6, and she did that intentionally to get MI6 to get Bond to go after Scaramanga, because she wants Scaramanga dead. And for some bizarre reason, she can't do that herself. And this is one of the... There are so many things wrong with this movie. One of them is the fact that the cat and mouse game between Bond and Scaramanga has so much potential. Like, really think back to when I reviewed From Russia with Love. The cat and mouse game between Grant and Bond throughout the entire film was brilliant, and it paid off so well when they got onto the Orient Express, and the fight sequence in the train, all of the build-up of all this tension, all of these little things that came up at the end of the film, and then bang, as soon as you get onto the Orient Express and you find out that Grant is also on the train, everything comes together at that one little moment. And you had that device in the movie that was just a MacGuffin. It was a way to make the movie, keep the movie going, but in the background you always would see Grant pop up here, pop up there, and he would get ever so closer and closer to Bond. And this movie had the potential to do that, but fails miserably, because once Bond and Scaramanga actually meet face to face and have a conversation...
My name is Scaramanga. Francisco Scaramanga. I feel I know you, although I never thought we should ever really meet.
Which, it's a good scene when they do, but Scaramanga pretty much says to Bond, I'm not going to kill you. I have no intention. As a matter of fact, I respect you a lot. And it's just like completely deflates this cat and mouse game. And Bond realizes in scenes just before this that Scaramanga was never after him. That Scaramanga's been after this Solex device that was something that was just thrown at the beginning of the movie as, oh, we're taking you off that mission, Mission A. Now we find out that Mission A is the entire underlining plot of this film. And to me, it just feels like such a waste that you could have had the man with the golden gun. You could have had Scaramanga be a character that was getting closer and closer and closer and closer to Bond throughout the events of the movie, as Bond knows that he's after him. And you could have had Bond being paranoid, Bond lashing out at people he shouldn't lash out to, trying to discover where the bullets are coming from, where's Scaramanga, what does he look like. And if the movie was done correctly and we as an audience never saw who Scaramanga was, I guess we would understand, because one of the biggest names in the movie is Christopher Lee, who plays Scaramanga. But if we, the audience, didn't see Christopher Lee up until the point when him and Bond come face to face, it would be so much better. It would actually be a good movie. And that's my problem with The Man with the Golden Gun. There are so many good little elements sprinkled in here and there. There's a really good car chase sequence. There's a couple of fun action sequences. There's a few little good characters here and there. Goodnight in it is brilliant, another sexy Bond girl. And I love the character of Scaramanga. I love Christopher Lee. He's got such a commanding voice. Every time I hear this guy, well, first of all, Christopher Lee, I always think of him as Count Dooku from Star Wars, the prequel trilogy. And even at the ages of like his mid-70s in those films, he's still so amazing to watch on screen. And in this film here, equally as compelling. Every time he's on the screen, I'm glued. I am not looking away. This guy is brilliant. I love the character of Scaramanga. I just wish that the filmmakers, the producers, the writers, the director, I wish they knew how to handle that though. And that's what I'm talking about, that if this movie had another pass or two of the script, instead of rushing it out from 1973 to 1974, The Man with the Golden Gun could be up there with some of Roger Moore's best work that he's given us. Unfortunately, we have a movie that's just kind of two halves. We've got a movie that starts off as a cat and mouse game, but then by midway through the film, it's just like, oh, it's not actually about that. It's about, like, he doesn't even want to go after Bond. He's got no interest in Bond. And then it just kind of falls apart. And the cat and mouse game, I mean, it does come back toward the very end of the movie, because as the plot progresses, we find out that, as I said, Scaramanga's not actually after Bond. He's after the Solex device. And he is going to use that and do some things with it. It's mumbo jumbo to me toward the end of the movie. But he ends up kidnapping Goodnight, taking her back to his island with Nick Nack in a flying car, which I still think looks pretty cool, but you can tell we're really now at the fantastical era of Bond. There is like nothing in these movies that they won't at least try. And I'll give him credit for that, because we're at that stage where we've gone from hardcore spy movies to adventure movies to, you know, we're at the fantastical stage, and I can buy that. It's the way the movies have progressed over time. I'm not shocked by it. Let me just say that. And when we get to the next film, the Spy Who Loved Me, and we go to the fantastical parts of that film, consider me, I'm in at that point. There's no like, oh, I don't buy it. I buy every single thing in that movie, and I buy every single thing in this movie. But as I was saying, when Scaramanga gets back to his island and Bond's got to go there to retrieve the Solex device and Goodnight, the cat and mouse game resumes just a little bit. Because, like I said, Scaramanga respects Bond, and it is so strange, because it's almost as if they wrote two versions of this script. One version of the script is Scaramanga respecting Bond. The other version of the script is like Scaramanga is going after Bond to kill him, and he just wants to bide his time. And this movie kind of blends those two together, but does it in such a way that from scene to scene, Scaramanga kind of changes. Like when he arrives at the island, he's like a child. He's so happy to see Bond, and he's greeting him like his best friend. And then wants to show him around his whole complex and his island base and tell him everything and this and that. But then a moment before that, in the scene, these people ring up Scaramanga and said, oh, there's a plane that's landed on your island. Should we give it clearance to leave? And he's like, no, they won't be leaving, and then hangs up the phone. And I'm like, all right, so you want to kill him. But then when he arrives at the island, you're his best friend. You're showing him all around. You both have lunch together. And then the next scene after that, you're going to kill him again. And then the scene after that, it's just, there are so many little things in this movie that just get me. And there are so many things also in this movie that, like I said, I find pretty fun. Like there's the car chase sequence. There's another sequence where they use boats and they're going through, I think it's Thailand at this point, or is it? I'm not sure if it's Thailand. I think they might have filmed it in Thailand. I can't remember. Anyway, there's a boat chase sequence followed by car sequences, and the chases in the car are top notch. And then there's also this very famous jump where it's like a corkscrew jump where the car actually goes and flips in midair and then lands again. And it was all filmed. No trickery of the camera or anything like that. This was a real stunt filmed. And I believe it was done in one take. And it was highly dangerous because they had to kind of like put the driver in the center of the vehicle to do this jump. They had to get the balance right because any sort of miscalculation would flip it. And below this little bridge that the jump happens over, the broken bridge is just water. So if if the car didn't make it, you're going straight into the water. You're putting a stunt guy's life at risk. It's fantastic. When you watch it on screen, it's really good. But then other things I don't like about it is they bring back the racist sheriff from Live and Let Die, J.W. Pepper. He comes back. And I'm like, why of all characters would you bring him back? And I get it, that they're probably trying to have a little bit of comic relief and this guy's on vacation and you've put him in the movie and I get it, but I just feel like, no. Whenever I watch The Man with the Golden Gun, I feel exactly the same way about this film as I do with Diamonds Are Forever. Diamonds Are Forever, for me, the last Connery movie, was such a disappointment. But the more I watch it, the more I'm just like, man, I can turn off now and I'm just having a good time. The Man with the Golden Gun, for me, the more I watch it, at the beginning I start really not liking it. And then I start going through that thing of, oh, yeah, okay, I've come around to it. And on my latest rewatch of this movie, and before I recorded this, I was watching it again, I was getting upset by it. And also at the same time, I'm like, but I can totally understand where they're coming from. I get where they're coming from. It's a fun time. It's a one-off entry in the Bond movies. Like, you don't have to take it too seriously. I get it. But the problem is that there are just so many conveniences that happen in this movie. And there's also some, like I said, the plot holes in this movie. Like, why didn't Andrea... She's got so many opportunities to kill Scaramanga in this movie. Why doesn't she just do it? Why does she have to start this chain reaction of sending this bullet with 007 engraved to MI6 to get Bond to go after Scaramanga when she could just stab him or poison his food? Then you've got this other character in the movie called Lieutenant Hip, who's like Bond's informant in Hong Kong and all that. And when they first meet, Bond is arrested by this guy on the street. And Bond is saying to him, like, this is who I am. Where are you taking me? And this guy is just dead silent. He's like dead silent, gets him in the car, holds a gun to Bond throughout the whole car ride. Then they get to a boat. Then the boat takes him to the middle of the, to the lake area. And there's probably a 10-minute ride throughout this whole thing where Bond is still asking who this guy is, only to then 5 minutes later reveal, oh, I'm actually working with you. Sorry, mate, I just didn't want to tell you because I didn't know who to trust. It's like, you were alone. You were both alone. You could have told him at any point without any sort of giving up your cover or anything like that. It's it's little things like that where you can clearly tell that they just needed a little bit more time to rewrite the script. But nope, they wanted to rush out a Bond film, and this is the movie we got. And unfortunately, that's why every time I get to this movie, I'm disappointed. But then the longer it goes on, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. And yeah, that's the man with the golden gun. That's my issues with it. Roger Moore in the movie is Roger Moore. He's Bond. He, to me, is Bond. I mean, I know you've got Sean Connery as everyone says the quintessential Bond. You had George Lazenby with no one really gave him any sort of credit up until maybe 10 years ago. They started to actually think about this guy and think he's actually pretty good. Roger Moore, to me, he's a really good Bond. He is so good. And if it wasn't for Roger Moore, you would not have this franchise at the stage of where it is now. Because after Sean Connery left, people were saying this franchise is done. This series is just get rid of it. But he came along with Live and Let Die, and he's done this movie here. And although this one here wasn't that well received, his next entry was. And we will get to that one next time. And I'm going to put this review to bed. I'm going to put this review to bed now, because if I keep talking, I'm going to get more and more upset, and I don't want that. So let me I need to move on. I need to move on from this review. I need to get it out of me. The Man with the Golden Gun. It's an enjoyable film if you switch off. Just switch off. And the movie's enjoyable. It has plot holes, it has issues, but watch it for Bond, watch it for Scaramanga. Both those characters are good. Nick Nack in it, he's good. He's a little short dude in it. He's you know who he is? He's the guy from Fantasy Island. You know, the one that always stands there and goes, "The plane, boss, the plane." That's him. He's in this film, and he pretty much plays the same character. Original. But let's get into stats now. Let's actually, and this one's interesting because, all right, like always, kill count. 1. Bond killed one person, Scaramanga. So spoilers, Bond won at the end of the film. He killed Scaramanga. And the way, and what actually, this one here, actually, I don't mind this one. When they get to Scaramanga, I'm going back to the review slightly here, but when they get to Scaramanga's island, Bond's there, they have their duel at the end of the movie, Bond and Scaramanga. And Scaramanga pretty much says to Bond, "You've got 6 bullets in your Walther PPK. I've got 1 in my golden gun, 1 bullet. And that's all I'll need." And then they go off. They walk their paces apart. And then bang, you go, he goes. And then the movie for the next 10 minutes is that cat and mouse part. And Bond's walking through the funhouse maze and everything like that, and ends up losing his Walther PPK. And Scaramanga's slowly tracking him down. And if you remember back to the very beginning of the movie, there's that wax figure of Bond in the maze, in the funhouse, which Scaramanga shot off the fingers of this thing. Anyway, when Scaramanga gets into that room, you actually see the wax figure, and Bond's hand is there, and he's got all of his fingers. And then all of a sudden he turns and shoots Scaramanga. And what happened is Bond took the clothes off the wax figure, jumped in the suit, the gun, which was apparently loaded, and he used it to kill Scaramanga. So it's actually a really fun, it's a fun little moment. It's a good little sequence about how he actually defeats Scaramanga, and I actually like it. So yeah. Location. So again, 1 kill. 1 kill, Scaramanga, bang, you're gone, buddy. No one else, surprisingly. Locations visited, we have 5. We've got London, Lebanon. He goes to Macau, Hong Kong, both in China, and then he goes to Bangkok in Thailand. And beautiful, beautiful. When they get to Scaramanga's Island, which my parents have actually visited that place. It's actually referred to as James Bond Island, and my mum, if I haven't mentioned it before, was the person that got me into James Bond when I was younger. And my mum went there and she took photos, and she said to me, "You would love it there, but you will never go." And I said, "Well, why wouldn't I go?" And she goes, "It's too humid." And I'm like, "Yep, spot on, Mum, I will never go there." So I'll never visit that location, but my mum went there. She loved it. She said that the island itself is like almost it is what they filmed on the outsides of the island, on the little beach areas where the water, the sand and everything like that. Brilliant. She goes, "It looks like you're in the movie." And it would be, because that's where they filmed it. And when you see it in the movie, it looks so picturesque, so beautiful. I wish I did go there and visit, but I never will. But anyway, 5 locations, we're saying that again. Women bedded, we only have 2. We've got Andrea Anders and Mary Goodnight. And speaking of Andrea Anders, I do not like her in this movie. I like Maud Adams, who plays her, and she will appear later in the franchise, but I don't like her character in this movie. Like I said, I feel like she's just... Why wouldn't you have just done your own dirty business with Scaramanga and just taken care of him? Why drag Bond into it? I don't get it. Scaramanga respected him, and now you're bringing this guy into it to kill this guy. Pathetic. And then when you've got the character of Goodnight, what starts off as a strong character ends up turning into a buffoon by the end of the movie. And again, it's that male fantasy of men want to be the secret agent and travel the world and have cool gadgets and be spies and have sexy women hanging off their arms and everything like that. That's cool, but they don't have to be dumb. And she clearly is in this movie by the end of it. So we don't want that fantasy. Now, my calories burned for this movie was... Active calories burned was 899, so well done. Total calories was 1,245, so pretty good. And the total time was 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 1 second. Again, when I watch it, I do pause it, I rewind it, I go back and check and this and that. And yeah, now, as a conclusion, again... Don't take what I'm saying as a massive negative. Like, it's still a James Bond movie. And for me, a James Bond movie is always fun. I can always sit down and just really enjoy myself when I'm watching James Bond. But the fact that they intentionally released this movie 1 year after Live and Let Die, which introduced a brand new Bond, but 1 year later and they released this movie, which... isn't that good. And there are behind the scenes reasons as to why this movie apparently didn't work. Number one was the rushed time frame between movie releases. Number two was the falling out between Harry Saltzman and Cubby Broccoli, the two producers that had been here since Dr. No. They had a massive bit of falling out, and apparently by this point in the franchise, they were alternating who, you produce this film, I'll produce this film, you produce the next one, I'll produce that next one. So there was massive bitterness there behind the scenes. The script needed more work. It was rushed. There's a lot of things that helped, or I shouldn't say helped, but there's a lot of things that snowballed and created this movie. And I feel like now that I'm getting into a completely different topic here, but now that Amazon has the rights to the James Bond film franchise, this is one of those movies where I would love to see them actually take another pass at it. I would love Amazon to say, if they ever do this, if they ever start remaking the classic Bond films, I would love them to say, Man with a Golden Gun, we're going to turn it into a massive cat and mouse movie. And that's the film. That's 2 hours of this guy avoiding but chasing each other. That to me is top notch. That's what I came into this movie expecting. I didn't get it. And don't get me wrong, this was one of the original Bond films that I purchased on VHS. And I do own I'm going to hold it like that. I do own it on VHS. I mean, it was one of those movies where, I had no idea what this movie was when I first heard about it. I just knew The Man with the Golden Gun. Oh, wow. I need to watch this movie. And I watched it, and unfortunately, it wasn't what... I'm going to leave it here because I can't put it back without ruining everything. But unfortunately, it wasn't the type of movie that I expected when I saw it. And look, that just happens. It happens. It is what it is. I'm not going to complain about this movie anymore. I've done my review. I've told you what I thought about the movie. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, by the fourth rewatch, yeah, of course. But it's always a disappointment when I start watching it. It's not my favourite. It's probably toward the lower end of the Roger Moore movies for me. There are so many better out there, and we are getting to... I'm going to save that for next week. I'm going to save that for my next Roger Moore review. You tune back in then when we get to the Spy Who Loved Me. Tune back in then. I'm going to put this to bed now. I've got a busy week ahead of me. Editing this is going to be quite the challenge. But anyway, we're going to get there. Now, again, I mentioned it in my last review that I kind of have a bit of an aim for myself in 2025, and that is to get 500 subscribers. I'm almost there. I'm at 57. Whoa! I will eventually get there. Trust me. But I like to do things naturally. I don't like to rush or force things to change. It happens when it happens. We get there when we get there. So you can help me out by liking it, by leaving a comment, and by sharing it. That always helps. Subscribing helps. You have to think that YouTube recommends videos. The more comments, likes, and subscribes, I think it is, that you get. When you share it, you're obviously helping that mythical algorithm that everyone talks about when it comes to YouTube. So if you can just do those things for me, I appreciate it. I leave it up to you. I leave it up to all of you, and I appreciate you, and I really do thank you all a lot. It's been a very strange week and a half since I recorded the previous review, and now into this one. And one day I will talk about what is going on with my mental health. I'm feeling better this week. I know last week I said I was pretty much on a downward spiral a little bit. I wasn't feeling the greatest. I'm feeling a lot better this week. You can probably tell I'm smiling a lot more. And like I said, I also want this place to be a place where we can just be positive with each other and just have a good time and chat. So again, if you don't want to chat in the comments, you can hit me up on Instagram up here. I don't post much, but if you message me, I will message back. So don't worry about that. And yeah, I just want to thank you all for watching. Now, if you've watched this far, which I don't think many people do, but if you do, let me know who your favourite James Bond actor is and why, and which one's your favourite movie and why, because I love hearing people's favourites, and it does let you kind of know what someone's train of thought is when they start telling you what their favourite Bond film is and actor. So let me know down below. Believe me, when it comes to The Spy Who Loved Me, I'll have a lot to say about that film. It's it holds a special place for me, and I'll get into that and the reason for that in the next review. So until then, keep watching, keep subscribing, keep liking, not just me, but anyone you find interesting on YouTube. And we'll talk in the comments or on my Instagram, or we'll talk next week. Until then, take care, look after yourself, and Ross will return.
An eye for an eye, not